Yeah.
We will. 24 minutes past 7. Last year, the number of people in Britain deciding to have cosmetic surgery was the lowest in nearly a decade and down 40% on the previous year.
Now, the new figures don't reveal the number of people choosing to have non-surgical treatments like Botox injections and chemical peels, which generally cost less than going under the knife.
Here to discuss these trends is Gerard Lambe from the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, who compile the data. I suppose in some ways it's probably not good for your industry, but what do you put it down to?
It's very difficult to know exactly what it is. The association believe that because there's uncertainty in the world at the moment. I think we're all quite aware of that. Being in the media, you'll know, the threats of terrorist attacks, Brexit, changing identity. People don't feel quite as confident about making such big investments, such big decisions, such life-changing things. We think that's the main thing. When there's economic prosperity, people tend to, continue to do these type of investments. So that's our working hypothesis at the moment.
So maybe we should use this as a sort of way of testing how positive people feel financially. Because we were talking a few weeks ago about, Ben was saying, when you see cranes in the sky, that's when you know that the building industry is booming. Maybe we should look carefully at cosmetic surgery figures.
No, maybe I've seen that across Manchester. As the cranes disappeared and then they came back. It's not the only predictor of economic recovery, but we do know when times are booming and people are feeling positive, then they will invest and they will make these decisions. But it's a big and important decision, and people need to think it over very carefully. And if they're not feeling confident, then they're much less likely to go ahead with it.
I'm just looking at what's 47.8% drop in the amount of cosmetic surgery on men, for example. And there seems to be a difference, doesn't it, between men and women, how many are now not taking it up?
Yeah, men traditionally only make up a very small percentage of the people undergoing the procedures. The vast majority are women. I was looking at the figures carefully before I came on as well. Men are still having abdominoplasty, which is tummy tucks, and we think when there's no good non-surgical alternative, that people still will look into it, research it, and will still go down that line.
The non-invasive stuff like Botox is proving popular as well. Are you concerned about a lack of regulation in the industry? Is it safe?
Yeah, the association's very concerned about a lack of regulation, and we have pushed for regulation. We know that there are people out there who are not as well trained as they could be. We know there are good cosmetic doctors, but there are some working in salons who are injecting, who aren't as well trained, who aren't regulated, and the association is very keen to have regulation and says that anybody who who is considering these treatments really does need to do the research and go to see somebody who's medically trained and who's registered with BAAPS, and that's how you know you're going to be safe.
Have you had to correct work?
I have, yeah. I don't see that much of it, but I have had a couple of ladies who've come who've had fillers and they don't like them. I've had to dissolve them, or I've had to redo procedures, after they've had unsatisfactory results. Some of those are even done by people who I know who are good practitioners, and so people need to be aware of what can be done and what can't be done, what can be achieved.
I'm interested, because you say it's down to people feeling concerned about what's going on, but maybe you could look at it in a positive light and think, well, they're not going for plastic surgery, they're feeling better about themselves.
Yes, it's hard to know if people are feeling better about themselves, and we want people to feel better about themselves, but what we want is for people who are considering these major operations is to do their research, to think carefully, to take time, not to be pressured by salespeople, and to make sure that anyone they see is a reputable surgeon.
Can you still spot it a mile off as a professional? I don't want you to pick anybody out, but from the Grammys and the BAFTAs last night, for example, would you be able to look and say, okay, work there, work here, work there?
No, good surgery should be unnoticeable. You should just look good.
Okay.
Can you spot it though as a surgeon?
Not always, sometimes.
Right.
Thank you very much. So Dr. Gerard Lambe, plastic surgeon, thank you very much indeed.
You're